Hello, guys, and welcome to Odds on Serie A Match Day 9. This interesting Serie A now with Napoli back on top of the table. Every single week we have a new leader. Napoli and Roma are the joint leaders. Leo, what a game we saw at the Maradona. Very important game, actually, for this Serie A. And for me, it was surprising to see this level of Napoli.
Yes, Edu, it was much needed. Let's remember they were at the back of the 6-2 debacle in Eindhoven. We could have feel the tension. Only by watching on TV, we have seen the fight between Lautaro and Conte. It's a shame that Kevin De Bruyne got injured, but a very important win. Not only because they got back to the top of the table, but mostly because they really needed Napoli to get a result. And if it was against Inter, even much better.
Well, now the bookies still think Inter are the favorites to win the title, but it's so level. And Inter, Napoli, and Milan, all three have odds around 3.0, 3.2, 3.7, respectively, to win the Serie A. And in these midweek games, I'm sure we are going to have fun next week. By the way, we have Milan-Roma, another important game for the title. So stay with us, guys. Of course, press the like if you enjoy our video, subscribe, and now let's go on with the show. So, Leo, let's start on Tuesday. We have the leaders playing in Lecce away Napoli. You mentioned the debacle in Eindhoven. It's because Napoli, they are struggling a lot when they are playing away. They lost in Torino as well. And let's see if this important win, bouncing back at home against Inter, had changed things. For Conte's men, we saw also De Bruyne getting injured and leaving the pitch with a great 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗀. What a goal he scored. Also McTominay made the difference, and Lecce is winless at home. They have only 6 points. They lost to Udinese. And again, winless at home. If you want to win the Serie A, Leo, they have also to improve away from home.
Yes, absolutely. And this should be, Edu, the opportunity for Napoli to definitely bounce back in Serie A after what it had been a very difficult week for them. I was worried, to be honest, going into the game with Inter, because it was not only the defeat, the debacle 6-2 against Eindhoven, but the press conference from Antonio Conte after that game. It was harsh, Edu. Conte saying that Napoli signed too many players, that he didn't like that. I thought he was in distraction mode. When Conte started saying these kind of things at press conferences, you can only just hold your head. But in the end, it was a great spirit from Napoli. The team, the squad, the players gave an answer to the supporters. It was a shame what happened to Kevin De Bruyne. He left he was seen walking with crutches after the game. He was in tears after he scored the penalty, his fourth goal of the season, but he got an injury in his hamstring. I guess he was thinking that it could be something similar to what happened to him in Manchester City in 2023 when he got injured in his hamstring and he was out for around 6 months. Hopefully that is not going to happen for him this time again. We have seen, I said before, Conte exchanging insults with Lautaro Martinez. Pepe Marotta doing a press conference after the final whistle. We have Chibu criticizing Conte. So it was a very good game inside the pitch and to talk. We all remember anyway that Lautaro and Conte's relation go way back, and not a very good one. They never enjoyed a very good relation in Inter. Remember when they had jokingly organized a boxing fight between them in the training ground as well, after a game in which Lautaro was angry because he's been subbed. You mentioned 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗀, Edu. I think he's the player of the season so far for Napoli. Third goal of the season for him, and a very nice one against Inter. His second half was stunning, dominating in central midfield. Anguissa's goal was a product of a counter-attack, something that Conte got very right on Saturday night, giving the ball to Inter, trying to punish in transition. A week ago, we talk about McTominay, his struggles. He had one goal all season 7 days ago, and that was on match day 2. And now, in the space of 4 days, he has scored 3 goals in 2 games. With Inter, it was his best performance of the season. And now, with the Kevin De Bruyne out, probably he's gonna get a central role in the pitch back for him. And the best for Lecce, Edu, even though in defeat with Udinese, is like at least they scored 2 goals. Yes, it was the 4th defeat of the campaign for them, but they managed to score 2 goals in Serie A only 3 times since January. At home, winless so far, and I don't expect them to get that first win against this Napoli, who had a very good chance to get things going again in the Scudetto fight. That's why my take here is Napoli to win 2-0, odds of 2.25.
With so many surprises in Serie A, you never know, but of course they should beat Lecce. Many surprises, for instance, Milan in the opening game in the previous match day, Leo, on Friday, we expected them to win and to beat Pisa, and they didn't. So they are not leaders anymore. They are 3rd, and now they have a tough game nearby in Bergamo against Atalanta. Milan slipped at home. They did it against Pisa. They did it against Cremonese, remember. In match day 1, away from home, they have great numbers. They still haven't conceded a goal away from San Siro, and this Atalanta is the only team without a defeat in Serie A. Keep drawing, Leo, in Serie A against Cremonese, in the champions against Slavia Prague. So, and also in Serie A is 4 consecutive draws for Atalanta.
Yes, just 2 wins and 6 draws in total for them so far in 8 games in the Serie A campaign. 3 of those last 4 draws have been at home, including the 0-0 with the Sparta Prague. In front of their own fans, Atalanta have only celebrated against Lecce and against Club Brugge this season. With Cremonese, yes, they had chances to win. Yes, they did have, but the first half was very, very sluggish from them. We are having now players criticizing in the open, like goalkeeper Marco Carnesecchi, who said he said that they were going nowhere with this kind of results and playing this way. And Yuri is replying that he and some of other players need to talk a lot less and do more. Again, nothing good could come out of that fighting between manager and players. But the thing here is Milan, Edu. Yes, it's crazy that this Milan, 5 of the 7 points they lost so far were at home and against promoted sides like Cremonese and Pisa. Difficult to understand why for Max Allegri's team to face minor teams is getting more difficult than when they had to face the big guns of Serie A. This said, Milan dominated the first half. Yes, they created a lot of chances, but they failed to extend that lead. And what we got in the second half was a complete collapse in their performance. Modric, even by his usual politeness, said it clear that with all due respect to Pisa, they cannot draw points in that kind of games at home if they are to compete for something, Champions League spots or even the Scudetto. What is evident here is that with Cremonese and Pisa is that this Milan is difficult for them to win against low blocks. It's difficult for them to work around how to play against low blocks. Sometimes they're lacking speed, in the way they move the ball. You even by watching TV, you are thinking, okay, come on, move it a little bit, the ball a little bit faster. Rafa Leao, on the positive side, in this context, scored again 3 goals this season, 2 games in a row for him celebrating. completely different to what we are seeing from Santi Jimenez. Another night to forget for the Mexican. 1 goal in 10 games in all competitions for him, despite having started, and he started to 7 of those 10 games. He hasn't scored a Serie A goal since May, and since arriving in January, 7 goals in 29 games for him. I do see as the bookies Milan above this Atalanta anyway, despite that setback with Pisa at home. My take here is Milan double chance combined with goals over 1.5. These two together, odds of 1.93.
Could be easily another draw, as the bookies expect. Atalanta 2.7 to win, Milan also 2.7 to win. Therefore, the bookies expect a draw, and I'm checking Smart Bet, our AI tool. And it says first half result Atalanta, first time to score Atalanta. So they are trusting much more La Dea than Milan for this really good game. And then on Wednesday we have Roma Parma is the first game. A strange team, this Roma, Leo, because I don't like it, and they are joint leaders in Serie A. It's been years and years without seeing this. 18 points after beating Sassuolo again. 1-0, but also they are perfect when they are playing away, and they have a lot of troubles when they are playing at the Olimpico. Historically, they are very strong when they are playing at home, but we saw them losing again against Victoria Pilsen, and in Serie A is only 8 goals scored and 3 goals conceded. So the under 2 goals, under 2 goals should be on the cards, especially also playing against Parma. Leo, they drew the last 2 games, were goalless draws against Como and Genoa, and they haven't scored in the last 3 games.
Yes, and the win 2-0 could also be on the card, because we are talking about Roma. Yes, top of the league again for them. Another away win is 4 out of 4 away from home for La Loba. And another win 1-0. 3 of the 4 away wins have been with that scoreline. And even when they score more than 1 away from home, like in the win against Fiorentina, in Firenze they still won by 1 goal margin. And Roma needed the win, Edu, yes, because not only because of Milan and Inter setback gave them the opportunity to reach the top again, but because, as you mentioned, also on Thursday night in the Europa League, they suffered another defeat last week and at home in the Olimpico. Gasperini surprised, leaving Mattias Soulé in the bench, Pellegrini in the bench. He started Dybala and Leon Bailey up front, with Brian Cristante pushing a little bit more in an advanced role. For Paulo was the first goal of the season, and Gasperini said that he has no doubt that Dybala is a striker and that he can play as a center forward, something that I can't completely see that way, but well, that's the view of Gasperini. The position of Cristante in a more advanced role for me resemble a little bit what we have seen of Mario Pasalic, for instance, in Atalanta with Gasperini. As you said at the beginning, it's not very usual for Roma to see themselves at the top after 8 match days. Actually, the last time this happened, that was on 2013-2014 season. Yes, last 2 games for Roma ended in defeat, and not just that they ended in defeat, they ended that way against teams who were playing in transition, and Parma and Carlos Cuesta are going to try to do the same for sure, because they done that against Como on the weekend. Parma tried the same against Juventus as well in the opening day of this campaign. But for Parma, the draw with Como was a positive one, I would say. They had the best chances to win, with Cutrone in the first half almost scoring with a header. They had a goal disallowed as well in the first half. But the story of the season for them, for Parma, is that they are having problems to score. They are toothless so far, 3 goals in 8 games. But the reality as well is they are a team hard to score against, with just 7 goals conceded, which for a team bound to fight for relegation is a very positive aspect. For Parma, 7 of their 8 matches have been goals under 2.5. 7 out of the 8 games they played, goals under 2.5. But they haven't scored and they haven't won. Of course, they haven't scored a single goal away this season, and they haven't won a single game. Parma is the Olimpico a place where they could start changing that? despite of what we have seen with Torino and Victoria Pilsen doing at the Olimpico, I don't think that Parma will do it, but they will for sure present a fight. I will still go for that Roma winning for a 1-goal margin. Roma to win 2-0, 2.3.
Both teams to score no is 1.7. Of course, should be on the cards. Roma only
Yeah.
one game with both teams to score. Parma only 2. So we shouldn't expect a lot of goals in this one. Next one is 𝗀𝗵 Verona. 𝗀𝗵 13 points, only one defeat. This season was the team drawing with Parma after beating Juve. So it's 3 draws and 1 win in the last 4 games. Super favorites here to beat Verona. Leo, still winless and coming from 2 draws.
Yes, I do, but yes, they are favorite 𝗀𝗵. I agree with that view, and I think they're going to win this game. But and different from Roma, for example, they're doing very well at home, but not so good sometimes when they have to travel. And this inconsistency from 𝗀𝗵 lately, because after winning 2-0 against Lazio at home, a defeat away to Bologna. After winning away with Fiorentina, a draw at home with Cremonese. After winning at home against Juventus, now a draw away with Parma. The game at the end of Tardini, everyone thought, we all thought that Parma was going to close themselves defensively, and that happened, and 𝗀𝗵 didn't know how to solve that low block. In the second half, I think they done a little bit better. Fabregas sent Assane Diao finally to the pitch after 7 months out injured. It's good to have him back, the ex-Betis forward. There were more 1v1 opportunities in the second half, I guess, because the game as well opened a little bit more, and that's what Fabregas wants. He plays a positional play, so the more chances to play 1v1s on the side is what Fabregas wants and celebrates. It was positive for 𝗀𝗵 as well that they were able to change tactically many times during the game, and that is down to what Fabregas is doing with the team. They kept a clean sheet, which is another positive aspect. That was for the second consecutive game. They suffered in transition, yes, but Fabregas was quite quick to defend his team after the game, pointed that since that defeat with Milan in San Siro, and that was in March, they lost only 3 games in 8 months, and one of those 3 games was a friendly against Barcelona during the summer. Verona is at the back of a draw with Cagliari, but they were 2-0 up for 60 minutes, and in the end they lost 2 points on added time. They couldn't celebrate the first win of the season, and they are separated by just 1 point from the drop zone. Away from home, they just scored 1 goal so far this season, Verona. That's why I'm going with 𝗀𝗵 to win, odds of 1.6.
And a very important game in Torino, Juve Udinese, very important for Igor Tudor. He is still the manager as far as we know, but his position is very weak after losing to Lazio on Sunday, lost to Real Madrid, even if the Juventus played a decent game at the Bernabeu. So it's 3 consecutive defeats, 4 games without scoring, and 8 games without a win. Leo, last happy times for Tudor was the Derby d'Italia. Is the last time Juve won, and now they are facing Udinese, a team coming from a win against Lecce, and this is a match ball probably for Igor Tudor.
Absolutely, Edu, and how things change after that Derby d'Italia for Inter and for Juventus. For Juventus, for the worst. 8 games in all competitions without winning is a lot for Juventus. I told you last show that what they were saying in Italy is that Tudor was given before the last week and before facing Lazio, he was given apparently 6 matches to save his place as the Juventus manager. But I don't think so. He's going to make it to 6 games. We don't know even if by the time this week finishes, he's going to still be the manager of Juventus. They dropped to 8th in the standings, 6 points from the top. Modesto, Juventus technical director, repeated that they have full faith in Tudor to turn things around. But they can say the nicest words. The reality is that Juventus is lacking attitude, is lacking creativity. To leave Yıldız in the bench when he's the only one able to contribute to finding a final pass or going all the way himself it did not make sense at all at the Olimpico. His front two of 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀 and Jonathan David continues to struggle. They cannot develop any sort of chemistry so far together. Probably it was just Conceição who played the game of 6 points at the Olimpico. For Udinese, Matchday 8 was a good one. It was the first home win for them, not only this season, but the first home win since March for Udinese. They started very well because they scored after only 7 minutes. Castro enjoying his first goal, his first Serie A goal this season. Straight after that, Nicola Zaniolo hitting the crossbar. They went to the break with a 2-goal lead after Kenan Davis celebrated his third goal of the season. He's doing well, Davis, because last season it was always him alongside Lorenzo Luca, but now the system allows for him to play alone up front. Yes, they had to suffer in the second half because Lecce went to 1-2, but and 𝗀𝗵𝗏𝗀𝗀 could have equalized, but in the end they finished the job in transition. Away from home, Udinese won 2 and drew 1 out of their 4 outings. One of those wins was at San Siro for Udinese against Inter. Only Roma, with 12 points, have won more points away than Udinese's 7. Last win of Udinese in Turin happened not so long ago. That was 2 years ago, because last season they lost both fixtures 2-0. But at the moment, Edu, they're very, very difficult to trust this Juventus, to trust Tudor, to trust that Jonathan David can turn things around and score goals for Juventus. Actually, Jonathan David was a misplaced pass from the Canadian that allowed Lazio to score on Sunday night. With all this and having the odds on a double chance for Udinese, I'm taking them all day, Edu. Udinese double chance, 2.7.
Not trusting Juventus, not trusting Tudor in a really bad moment. Indeed. Next one, Bologna-Torino. Bologna drew with Fiorentina. They conceded in the last minute. We thought they were going to get all 3 points at the Franchi, but still they are in a good moment. They were coming from 3 consecutive wins, taking also in consideration the European wins, and Torino also in a good moment. Leo, back-to-back wins for the very first time this season against Napoli and Genoa.
Yes, it's a good moment for them. To be honest, not to get two wins in a row is probably the best time under Marco Baroni for Torino. They won it from behind against Genoa. Terrible defended, which resulted in Genoa's getting the lead. And I thought that the Granata was destined for a defeat. In the end, they left it very late. Maripan, the Chilean center-back, scoring on added time for the 2-1. To make it, as I said, 2 wins in a row for them and to leave them mid-table, something that we are used to with Torino for many, many years. Second win at home for them this season. After that dreadful first half against Genoa, Baroni said that he turned the locker room upside down at halftime. In the first part, the Granata was, not aggressive enough, very slow, but the second one was completely different. So whatever Baroni said at halftime, it really worked because the pace was different, the intensity was different, the attitude basically changed for Torino. They started to press higher, and in the end, they celebrated with Maripan, who already scored the same goals as last season in 28 games, 1 goal. And the 3 points show a Torino side on the rise, but to play Bologna away is never easy for anyone. And for Bologna, things were looking very good in Firenze, going 2-0. And even for a while in the second half, they were 3-0 up, but the VAR ruled out a goal. Vincenzo Italiano was fuming that his team lost 2 points, understandably. They could have been in 4th place above Inter. They are 5 without losing in Serie A. Bologna. Their defeat against Milan in San Siro, the last one for them. The end of the game was difficult for them because Holm saw a red card in the 85th minute, and from there Fiorentina, of course, pushed for the equalizer that arrived on stoppage time. Big odds on X2, good odds on Bologna anyway to win, but my take here, both teams to score odds of 2.17.
Next one is Genoa Cremonese. Cremonese still drawing a lot of games, 5 draws and 1 defeat in the last 6 games, but also Genoa in really poor moment also could be a match ball for Patrick Vieira. Who knows, after the bad results they are getting, only 3 points for Genoa. Leo, will they react against Cremonese?
I can see it, Edu, to be honest. I can see it. But we are seeing so far of Genoa is very, very poor, Edu. Bottom of the table, winless, only 4 goals scored. They showed the 3rd worst attacking record and the 6th worst defensive record in the league. That's why, of course, with all this, Patrick Vieira's future is uncertain at this point. They're experiencing the worst start in its Serie A history. And we are talking of a club with more than 130 years of history. We are approaching an international break, which clubs usually use to make changes. There is nothing here for me, to be honest, to trust Genoa. On the other hand, Cremonese, yes, 2 consecutive draws, 2 consecutive 1-1s, but anything that means not losing is positive for Cremonese. They have 7 points. They are 7 points above the red zone. To have 3 games cushion with the dropping zone could be crucial for them looking into the future. The game with Atalanta was special because it was Bardi's first goal in Serie A, finally. He spoke of him trying to learn Italian, that he moved with all his family, which is something central here, Edu, because it shows that he's taking the project seriously. It's not just an adventure for him to have fun. No, he moved with all his family and he's wearing the number 10, and now he's starting games. He's playing 90 minutes and now scoring goals as well. His experience is very valuable for this team, not only because we are talking here of a player who won the Premier League, who won FA Cup, but he's a player who got used to fight for relegation with Inter with Leicester, in England, and that kind of experience is something that, for example, Genoa will welcome because they are, as I said, in a very negative spiral, and I can't see them getting away from it. That's why I really like the double chances on Cremonese, and I will take them double chance Cremonese against Genoa, 1.95, good odds.
And one of the good games is Inter Fiorentina. Fiorentina still winless. What a start of the season for Pioli. At least they save a point at home against Bologna. They are only happy when they are playing in the conference. Inter, Leo, trying to bounce back after this defeat against Napoli, with Lautaro also missing some chances. They were coming from 7 consecutive wins before the visit to the Maradona.
Yes, absolutely. And the 3rd defeat of the season for Inter, which ended that very good run for them in all competition of 7 wins. Yes, they didn't have the best night at the Diego Armando Maradona, and despite Bastoni and Dumfries hitting the post, but every time they lost the ball, Napoli found space in behind to counterattack against this Inter. For some in Italy, the defeat was used to criticize 𝗀𝗵 for giving the players an extra day off after the win in Belgium for the Champions League, that the decision was likely to have created overconfidence in the players. Well, that's a bit opportunistic, I would say, because 𝗀𝗵 has always been saying that one of the most important aspects of his job is to look after the rest of his players, which is not only physically but mentally too. More than that, I would say that something that did not work this time for 𝗀𝗵 were his substitutions. Esposito, Luis Enrique, Zelensky did not make an impact after coming in the second half. When the game was asking for a change of speed, Inter was dribbling with the ball more than they needed to, especially Luis Enrique. In another time, I would say that Fiorentina visiting them in San Siro would be a game to be cautious, but this Fiorentina does not give confidence to absolutely anyone. There is a chance Pioli as well does not make it to the end of the week. Pioli, Tudor, Patrick Vieira, those are the hot seats in Serie A at the moment. as I mentioned before with Bologna, they went 3-0 down at some point, but in the end, Dalinga's goal was disallowed by the VAR. Gudmundsson pulled one back with a penalty, and in the end, Moise Kean with another penalty rescue a point at least for them. There was some fighting spirit, yes. And when Bologna went down to 10 men with 5 minutes to go, Fiorentina gave it all. However, the numbers are clear for La Viola. It's the worst start to a league campaign in La Viola's history. Inter, obviously the favorite here, might take goals over 2.5, odds of 1.74.
And Cagliari Sassuolo is the next game. This one important for the relegation battle. 2 draws and 2 defeats in the last 4 games for Cagliari. And Sassuolo lost to Roma and drew with Lecce. Really balanced game, this one, Leo.
Yes, Edu, and look at what is happening with Cagliari, because they have a good gap with the red zone after the 2-2 against the Verona away, and they were 2-0 down after 60 minutes playing that home away. And for the Sardinians, the good sign that I want to say is, like, out of the 8 games they played, 3 of them have been against teams in their own championship of avoiding relegation, and they have taken 7 out of those 9 points in play. Wins against Lecce and Parma, and the draw with Verona, which felt like a win. And now Sassuolo, which will be another game in their own championship. And for Sassuolo, they could not extend that mini run of 3 undefeated games with that 0-1 loss against Roma on Sunday. But Roma was the better side. Fabio Grosso acknowledged that, and the fact that this encounter with Cagliari is very important for them too, because against direct rivals, the record for Sassuolo reads 4 points out of 9 so far. Defeat with Cremonese, draw with Lecce, and a win against Verona. The last 2 games for Cagliari at home have been 2-0 defeats, although against Inter and Bologna. I don't see Sassuolo running away with all points here, and the bookies as well could be pointing to a draw. The draw here is at 3.3 for this Cagliari Sassuolo, but might take Cagliari first team to score, odds of 1.95.
The draw could be a really good option. And then we have Pisa Lazio, massive win for Lazio against Juve after draws with Atalanta and Torino. And Pisa, one of the teams still without a win. Leo, surprised us, as we mentioned, in San Siro. It's 3 draws in the last 4 games, so they are competing. But they haven't found the victory yet in this return to the Serie A.
Yes, Edwin, it was a shame that in San Siro, in the end, I guess they had mixed feelings, Pisa fans, players, and manager, because it was the best result for Pisa in Italian football in more than 30 years. But they could not celebrate as much because they thought they had it so close to win with Milan. But in the end, they scored or they equalized on added time. The best, to sum it up, was Antonio Gilardino, who said he did not know whether to be upset or to be happy with the 2-2. They had the game in their hands, it's true. But this should be a shock of confidence, well expected for them. But at the same time, I would say that Antonio Gilardino should be happy, because after the first half, or they could have gone to the break 3-0 down, and in the end, that was not the case. We must recognize that Pisa, against the best teams in Serie A, have done very well so far, even in the defeat with Roma. The only game they did not manage to compete was with Bologna, but then you have draws even with Atalanta and Fiorentina too. It's not enough yet to leave the red zone, that is true. If we talk about confidence, Lazio's confidence has for sure as well skyrocketed after the win against Juventus. Was not the great performance of all, but enough to have won 2 and drew 2 in the last 4 for Lazio. They have Castellanos and Cancellieri out injured, but the Dane 𝗀𝗏𝗀𝗀 is in good form. He was the MVP on Sunday night. Constant menace on the flank. Boulaye Dia is not the player to play as a number 9. I would say his best days in Lazio have always been on the flank or behind the striker, or as a second striker. But yesterday he played in Castellanos' position as a center forward, and he did not even help the team much by holding the ball despite his physicality. I can't see Lazio running riot in Tuscany, despite Pisa being winless at home in 4 games and only 2 goals, but only 2 goals conceded for Pisa at home. That's why my take is Pisa Asian handicap plus 0.5, odds of 1.85.
Well, this is it for our midweek games. In Serie A, we have another round of fixtures at the weekend. Remember, as always, that we have our tipster competitions going on. You can participate for free with the Serie A and win some cash prizes. And of course, use Rivals, where you can create your own tipster competitions. Leo, let's go with your safe bet.
Lecce Napoli goals over 1.5, odds of 1.35.
And tell me your ACCA.
Napoli to win, Roma to win, Inter Fiorentina goals over 2.5. These 3 together, odds of 3.99.
Brilliant, Leo. Let's enjoy Serie A also in midweek. Thank you and see you soon. Bye bye.